Welcome to the Hundredfold Journey. We help people step out of religious bondage and into true abundance. We invite you to embark on a journey, a spiritual journey called the Hundredfold. At a Hundredfold, we are a group of people developing new thoughts, habits, and beliefs to understand our true identity, to live our life purpose, and experience the abundant life just the way Jesus did. Our mission is to provide support, encouragement, and resources to help you on your journey. The life you are meant to live is closer than you think. The journey is the destination, and your journey starts now. Hello, Doug here from the Hundredfold Journey. Thanks for joining us on this Grace Awakening Network program. We're here to embark on a journey with you so that you can know your true identity, live your life purpose, and experience true abundance. Because a Hundredfold is about a group of people looking to find their true identity, and by doing so, finding God's true identity. So thanks for joining us today. We are in a series called the 7 I Am Statements of Jesus, and our key Bible verse that we have for this series is John 14:20. And Jesus said that in that day you will know that I am in the Father, you are in me, and I am in you. That means that God is in us, and that everything that was true about Jesus was true about us, because Jesus was one with the Father, and we are one with the Father. He is in us, we are in him. So what does that look like, and how does that play out in our lives? The way it plays out is through the 7 I Am statements of Jesus found in the book of John. We've been in this series for several weeks, and today is the summary or the conclusion. So we're basically going to review what we've been talking about, the 7 I Am statements of Jesus. All right, so let's start with where it all began, and this is the I Am, the name of God, and where it came. And basically it was when Moses saw the burning bush, and God spoke to Moses through the burning bush saying, let my people go out of Egypt. They were in bondage for 430 years. And when Moses asked the question, all right, burning bush, who should I say that is sending me? And God answered, I am that I am. And then this is so prevalent that when Jesus was in his ministry, when he said that I am, before Abraham was I am, the Pharisees and scribes were willing to throw stones at him because he was calling himself equal with God. So this is where the I am statement started, was back in Exodus. What I've been doing with each of these studies is I've been kind of breaking down the Hebrew words and letters, because in Hebrew, each of the letters have a symbol and a representation. So I thought it was interesting if we go into the letters of I am, and these are the letters that are shown here, and the symbols for each of those letters is the first reveals a finished work revealed. So that's who I am. He's the first. He's the firstborn of all creation, and he reveals a finished work. This means that our work is done. We can come from a state of rest, which is amazing. And then that finished work was revealed to us. And how was that revealed? It was revealed through Christ, Jesus, who finished the work and basically showed us that even before the foundation of the world, the work was done. There is no separation. We are one with him. So here is each of the letters. So that first letter is Alpha, which is the first letter of the alphabet. And the symbol of Alpha is ox, a bull, gentle, the leader, the strength, what is first. So that's where we get the word first. And then the second letter is He, which is represented by the number 5, and that is behold, to show, to reveal, or a window. And if you kind of look at the word, the letter hey, you can kind of see that it's a window that we can see through, right? So it reveals, it opens up. And then that little apostrophe, if you will, is the letter yod, which is number 10. And think of it as a hand closed to work, a done deed, or a finished work. Okay, so it represents a closed hand. And then back to hey again. So those are the four letters that are spell I am. And I I wish I knew how to pronounce that correctly in Hebrew, ahya, aye, which is kind of a breath. Now, interesting is if you take each of those letters represented by the numbers, 1 plus 5 plus 10 plus 5 is 21. 7 times 3 is 21. So you have perfection and you have unity. The number 7 is perfection and number 3 is unity. So just fascinating how the Hebrew letters work all of that. So just to kind of give you a little bit more clarity on that, Jesus said on the cross, right, it is finished. And in Colossians, he says that Colossians says he's the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. And in Revelation, the lamb slain before the foundation of the world. And then John says that he who has seen me has seen the Father. So that is where the term I am came from. The name of God came from, was back in Exodus. And as we can see, Jesus perfectly demonstrated and revealed the finished work that was done before the foundation of the world. Pretty incredible when you think about it. All right. So going through the I am statements, we now know the name of God is I am. And then the first statement in the book of John, where Jesus said, I am, was he said that I am the bread of life. Now, the question that I had when I did the series is, how did Jesus demonstrate being the bread of life? And of course, the most obvious one is when he fed the 5,000, right? There were 12 tribes. I'm sorry, 12 leftover baskets of food after he fed the 5,000. So he was literally providing bread to the people. And that's what he does for us. And that's what we do for ourselves. Because remember, as Jesus is, so I am. I am the dwelling place of God. So these truths are true for me as they were true for Jesus. So I am also the bread of life. And yes, I can give my I can give finances or whatever, or bread, if you will. And it's funny, it's interesting that our word for money, our slang word for money is bread, interestingly enough. The other way that Jesus demonstrated it was at the upper room, at the Last Supper. So he passed out the bread. In fact, he even said, this is my body, which is the bread represented, eat of me. And the way he demonstrated that is that he was providing nourishment or health to those that were sick. For example, this lame man that could not walk. So he provided bread, if you will, to those that were sick, including the woman with the issue of blood. So he became that bread. And again, this demonstrates who we are, that we can also provide bread to those that are around us, those that are in need. And then, of course, the ultimate sacrifice was on the cross, where he is the bread of life. He is, all of the world is blessed because of what Jesus demonstrated on the cross for us, that this is the love that God has for us. All right. So the next statement is, I am the light of the world. So if you remember in Matthew chapter 5, I believe, where he said that we are also the light of the world, thus demonstrating that these I am statements are true for us. Now, what's interesting is when I did this teaching, and you can actually go back and find this. I go into a lot more detail on this, but it talks about what light is. What is light? And what light is photons acting like both particles and waves in the weird and wonderful things about the quantum world. It's not something we easily experience in our everyday lives. Here's a simplified explanation. So basically, what it's saying is there was the dual slit experiment where they sent light particles, photons, which is a particle, and they act in two different ways. They act in a wave behavior and a particle behavior. And it's not until we look at them or observe them that they change from a wave form to a particle form. And wave is what the scientific community talks about as waves of potentiality, that those waves can turn into anything that we want, by just observing or setting our attention or setting our thoughts. And that this is how light operates. And so here's the double slit experience. So experiment. So what they did is light shows itself or expresses itself in either waves or particles. And when you send a wave through two slits, you have an interference pattern, just like that. In fact, let me go back to that. So if you drop a pebble in a pond, it expands out. And if you put two, they create two ripples. And what they create is like an interference pattern. So what you'll find is that on the back of the wall, after the two slits, is you'll find a wave pattern. But then for particles, if you send an individual particle, you only have two lines at the back wall. Hopefully that makes sense. And if it doesn't, go back to this study. So what's fascinating is that light, the light expresses itself as both a wave and a particle. And it's not until we observe them that they change, right? So what that means is that it can be a wave, it can be a particle, but it's not until we observe it that it changes to a particle. Hope that makes sense. It's not until you observe it that it changes to a particle. And this is a very simple picture, kind of a funny picture, but the diagram is showing he's not looking, so it becomes a wave of potentials. And then as soon as we look, then it becomes a particle. So it takes form when we look at it. Okay. Now, what was Jesus saying about himself, about being that light? So imagine the world through Jesus's eyes. Imagine a world bathed in love, compassion, and joy. That's the transformation Jesus offers. We are being observed by the wave of light. So imagine that God is looking down upon us, even though he's in us, he's living through us, but the waves of potentiality are constantly flowing down upon us. And when we observe those waves, that love, the love that God has for us, that frequency, energy, and vibration, then they become particles. They become things that we can see. And we can then, like the bread, right? We can transform by co-creation into bread and help other people. We can pass, because we are that light, the light that's within us, we can share that light with other people, and basically cutting through any darkness that's there into light. So be the light to embody the love Jesus showed us and who we are, because that's who we are. We are love, we are light. All right, the next one is I am the door of the sheep. And that one was kind of an interesting one, right? What is the door of the sheep? And in order to answer that, we have to ask, what does a door do, right? It opens it up to a new experience, All right. And what does the door lead to? An experience. Who's in charge of the door, right? If Jesus is saying, I am the door of the sheep, that means that I am also the door of the sheep. But what are we in charge? Who are the sheep, and what are we allowing in? What are we keeping out? And what are you protecting? Now, when we think of the word door, and I say we, here 2,000 years later, we're not part of the Hebrew or the Jewish nation. The door that Jesus was talking about was the door that was in the temple. And here's a diagram of what the temple uh, looked like, even though there wasn't a body, but our body is now the temple. In Corinthians, it says, don't you know that you're the temple of God and the Spirit of God dwells in you? What the temple that they were referring to is our body as being the temple. Now, the door, there was a door which was actually a curtain that separated the outer court from the inner court, which was also called the tent of meeting. And that was the door that Jesus was referring to. And what that door led to was inside the tent, and then eventually behind behind another curtain was the Holy of Holies. So what the door symbolizes is our temple, which is on the inside of us, and that we manage the door, the things that we allow into our temple, my temple, right? Which eventually goes to the Holy of Holies. So my thoughts, my body, my feelings, my emotions. So I am the door of the sheep. But what do the sheep symbolize? What do the sheep do? Where are the sheep led to, and who's in charge of the sheep? And what kind of sheep are you allowing in? What kind of sheep are you keeping out? And what sheep are you protecting? So those are all key answers. And here is key questions. Here's what we're talking about: is only through one door can that which you seek pass into the world of manifestation. I am the door, which is your consciousness. It's your thoughts, it's your beliefs, it's who you are is the door. So you must become conscious of being and having that which you desire to be and to have. So we're allowing co-creating through our spirit, through our consciousness. Any attempt to realize your desires in ways other than through the door, so you're having to work, you're going outside to try to get things to happen, that's not the way it works. The door is on the inside of your consciousness and makes you a thief and a robber unto yourself. So if you follow the parable that Jesus talked about, is that if you're not the door, then you're allowing other things to come in and change who you are. So the truth of this statement dawns upon you. You will know that you have found the lost word or the key to every door. And this is a quote from Neville Goddard, by the way. So your faith is your fortune. So you are in control of the door and the consciousness, the thoughts that come in, which represents the sheep. Now, speaking of the sheep, the next statement that Jesus said is, I am the good shepherd. What does the good shepherd mean? And remember, this is a picture of us. Even though Jesus said, I am the good shepherd, he is representing who we are. So here is what I view as the good shepherd, right? And the shepherd is, if you take a look at this picture, he's sitting down, which means that he's at rest, right? And the sheep are paying attention to him. They're being well fed. They're by the water. Some are on his lap, and he is paying attention to them, and they know who's in charge, right? But who are these sheep? They're not physical creatures that we're managing. They're not people. They're not a flock of people. As we talked about the door and the sheep to the door, the sheep are who we are. And these could be called the fruit of the Spirit, They could be called rest and abundance. But you are that good shepherd, and you manage your flock, which is your emotions and your physical body, your temple, right? This is who you are, and you are responsible for managing your sheep, which is love and being kind and abundance and joy. You shepherd those emotions and who you are. So this is the good shepherd, and this is what we do. This is what you do. And Jesus in this picture represents me. It represents you. The other way to look at it is the negative, right? So this is all positive: love, rest, joy, kindness, all of that. But then there's also some other thoughts that come in. And these represent, so look at your sheep right there. The picture is protecting your peace, protecting your joy, protecting your love, because you are the good shepherd. So now when the thoughts, again, the sheep are the thoughts. The sheep are your true identity and who you are. When things come against that, thoughts of separation, thoughts of fear, thoughts of the world and everything that's going on, is you are the good shepherd. You protect your sheep. You protect your peace and your joy, and you don't let anything come between you and who your true identity is, to the point where you are like fighting spiritually to come between the two of them, right? So I love this picture because it basically shows that we're willing to do everything to stay at peace. And that's the peace that's within us. So we push out all the negative thoughts. And in fact, the verse that comes to my mind, I think, is Galatians or Ephesians: whatever is pure, whatever is holy, whatever is lovely, think upon these things. So that's what we need to protect, right? Think about those things. The next I am statement is the resurrection and the life. And how can I be the resurrection and the life? And it talks about the resurrection and the life. There's actually an amazing sequence of events that took place with Aaron and his rod that budded, even though it was dead. And that was kept in the Ark of the Covenant, which is also in the temple. So this means, since the resurrection and the life came from something that was dead, which was the rod, a piece of wood, basically, but that was kept in the holy place. So this is where the resurrection and the life resides, because that's where the bud, the rod of Aaron was kept, was inside the Holy of Holies. So this is where the resurrection and the life is. It's within us, and then we can then share that with other people. All right. And then the last statement of the 7 I am statements is, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Actually, I'm sorry, there's two more. The way, the truth, and the life. I am always the way, the truth, and the life, but which one do I choose? And when I talked about this, is there's actually two voices, if you will. It's the ego that says, hey, you need to do work, and you need to do it your way. You need to earn God's love to be good. You don't need God, and instead you're looking at fear and darkness. So that is the way, the truth, and the life. You can choose that path, right? Both are legitimate. One, in my opinion, is better than the other. Living from the Spirit, which comes from rest, and you yield to the Spirit. There's nothing wrong, nothing to fix. You are holy and blameless in His sight. You are love, you are light, and you're living by spiritual, internal, and from heaven. So we are the way, the truth, and the life. It depends on what path we choose to go down. And what God is telling us is that we come at the way, the truth, and the life through rest. There's nothing we need to do. Everything's complete. I am holy. I am blameless. I am the temple of God. And then the last one is I am the true vine. But which one do you choose? And again, so the fruit from the vine is what will determine which vine we are pulling from, right? Are we pulling from the energy of life from the ego or from the spirit? Because the vine is always a vine, right? It's a branch, and through the ego, it says in John 15, I think it is, there's no fruit, but through the spirit there is fruit. The ego, it's downtrodden, versus the spirit, which is raised up. Um, the vine from the ego creates worry and fear, and it bears no fruit. Now, here's what's cool about the spirit side when we are the true vine is that we're clean, we're pure, and ask whatever we desire, and it will be done for you. So that is the promise when we are living from the true vine of the spirit. Pretty incredible. And here is what our fruit is it's the fruit of Galatians. Love, joy, peace, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. And what's amazing is that life is a mirror which reflects back what I truly believe. So the mirror reflects which vine I am pulling from, which vine is producing the fruit. So if I'm producing fear or anxiety or worry, then life is a mirror and it'll reflect back what you truly believe and think. And you'll now be able to see that you're pulling from a different side. I hope that makes sense. So life is a mirror, and that will be reflected back to you. Okay, so I know I went through those rather quickly. If you want to go into the specific teaching, just go on to the GAN TV or go to my website and you can pull that down. Next week, we're going to be starting a new series called I Am the Dwelling Place of God. And we're going to be looking at the temple in a lot more detail because we are the temple of God and the Spirit of God dwells within us. All right, so that's it for today. Please reach out on social media. And then, of course, you can always reach out on the100foldjourney.com. You can email me with any questions you might have. So thanks for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.